What's up, guys? In this video, I wanted to talk a bit about evolutionary psychology and why it makes it so that we're not happy all the time and why we're often fearful or in a state of anxiety in some situations. And a hilarious resource that I think breaks this down really well, it's actually really educational but also hilarious, is Tim Urban's website, Wait But Why. He does a great article called Taming the Mammoth, I believe. And I'll post that link when I post this video. But check out all his stuff. He's hilarious, but also a really smart guy, and I love the way he writes. So check that out. Anyway, a couple of things I wanted to talk about as far as evolutionary psychology goes are getting the glare out of there for you guys. Hopefully, still looks like it's coming through. Anyway, why we're not happy or satisfied a lot of the time, and why we're often in a state of fear or anxiety, and how they relate to the way our ancient ancestors lived. So, as far as being unhappy or dissatisfied a lot of the time, we have these brains that are designed for survival, right? And that makes sense from an evolutionary context. But nowadays, in the 21st century, survival for most of us isn't really too much of an issue, right? Of course, like there are certain threats to our life sometimes, but for the most part, survival is totally easy. Especially those of us lucky enough to live in first world societies, which I'm sure if you're watching this, that is you. You don't really have to worry about survival. But back in the day, that's what our brains were worried about. So they're constantly scanning for problems. They're looking up on the hill, always scanning for a lion or a bear, or something that's a threat to our life. Nowadays, obviously, that's not an issue, but our brains are still designed to scan for problems. They're always looking for problems or negative things so that they can send fear or anxiety responses to our body, which send us into states that are obviously not good for our happiness. The other thing is that from a social standpoint, it never really made sense to me why, at least for me and plenty of other people, we can be fearful or anxious in states in situations that are just there's no threat. It's a social situation. And evolutionarily speaking, the reason for that is we used to live in tribes where, say it was 50 to 150 people, it is typically the case for ancient societies. And if you did something socially that got you dissatisfaction, disapproval, that could get you shunned or banned from your tribe, kicked out of it, and that is an enormous threat to your survival. So nowadays, obviously, that's not an issue so much. You live in a much bigger city, or even if you live in a small town, you can get dissatisfaction from your tribe, and you can get disapproval from somebody you see every day, even, and it's just not a threat to your survival, other than maybe a minor number of cases. So I think an understanding of this allows us to do a couple things, right? We understand that our brain is constantly scanning for problems. It's kind of hardwired to be looking for the negative. So by retraining your brain a little bit to seek out the positive, there are a million things you could focus on, and our brain tends to go into the negative unless otherwise directed. So doing something like a gratitude journal where you train your brain to focus on the positive by stating a few things that you're grateful for each day, I think is a really powerful exercise to get your brain trained to be happier. And then also in terms of the social fears, right? So we have to realize that there's no real danger there. You can do just about anything socially. You can say just about anything, and there's no actual physical danger. I think realizing that and then constantly testing that in society, if that's not something you're already doing, testing your comfort zone. So doing things that are scarier and scarier to you. And you may already be somebody who pushes their edge in that way, or who's just not ever really afraid in social situations. But I think by doing that, by continually pushing your edge, you come to realize that you're not only intellectually, I think we already realize intellectually or logically in our brains that there is no danger. but we come to realize on an emotional level, oh, there really is no danger or no threat in social situations. So hope that helps, guys. I enjoy just studying this, but I think it's also a helpful thing to understand in your life. And again, check out that Tim Urban Wait But Why post, and check out his other articles too. Those are awesome. All right. Thanks, guys.